One of the things I'm really looking for with the crypto market, and this actually goes along with the metals market too, is the US dollar.
We're just going to be talking really about Bitcoin price action, crypto price action, because there's a lot of very interesting things happening in the market. And I've got my good friend Gareth Soloway on. How are you doing today, Gareth?
I'm doing well. I'm glad it's Friday. How about you?
I'm so glad it's Friday. It's so crazy. And you guys, I apologize for my background. I was trying to make it look cool with my stuff, but I don't know what this did. So I can't figure it out right now. I'm not feeling well, but we've got Gareth. Gareth's going to really carry the show for us today because I'm not feeling great. So Gareth, we know you're a TradFi guy. Okay. That's what your get down is. You're able to successfully call for Bitcoin to kiss $20,000. I personally think right now that we are going to see much more of a drop because we haven't capitulated yet. And I see that bottoming it out anywhere between 10,000 to maybe we might get a swing wick low to $8,000, $9,000, but I don't think that we've capitulated it yet. So from your experience, why don't you show us your chart and kind of talk to us what you're seeing in the market? Because I know that we got the jobs reports that came out today. We saw Boris Johnson. I guess what did he do? Didn't he step down yesterday?
Resigned, yeah.
So there's all these crazy things happening in the market, but talk to us what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Do you think that we're going to get a melt up? Are we in the beginning of a melt up, or just what are your kind of general thoughts? And I'm going to show my analysis a little bit later on.
Cool. So I think you're on the right track. I agree with you that we haven't seen capitulation yet. Having said that, we are due for a bounce. We've already had a nice little bounce. It makes sense that we're kind of stalling here. So one of the interesting, this is a very minor resistance level. And again, keep in mind, major resistance levels cause price to pull back or stay below for longer periods. Minor resistance levels are much shorter term. So you can see right here, the high of this candle matches the high right here. And that's where we're struggling right here. So right around 21.8 or so seems to be the key level that we're watching. And if we get a daily close above that, then I think there is more upside in the near term. I do think that will happen. I think that, again, the biggest catalyst for me, and again, you're right, there's so many different weird news stories, the jobs report today, but the bottom line is, heck, we even heard about Mt. Gox potentially selling 150,000 Bitcoin. None of that's causing crypto to drop. We saw the Voyager news of bankruptcy. That didn't cause Bitcoin to drop. So that's leading me to believe that there's more short-term upside before the next rollover, right? So the first target after 21.8, if we can get through this level, is this low, which was that Terra Luna collapse. So that makes sense. That would be a little resistance. And then ultimately, if that can get broken, there's a chance we could retest this area, right? And this is going to be, when you talk about resistance levels, this is like the mega resistance level. This one, I honestly don't think it gets through. 25.5 maybe. This 28 and change, I think it gets there possibly, and then that's the next start of the rollover that I have a target down to about 12 to 13,000. I do think we could even go sub 10,000 briefly in this next phase. And I agree, you've seen people very negative, but not at the capitulation point. And again, it's important to remember that to see capitulation, you have to see people go through all stages of loss. So you have denial, you have, there's 5 or 6 or 7 different phases. We haven't reached the final one at this point. So I do think that we have to see that. And then I do think at that point, you put in a longer term low where you'll see the next bull market potentially start after some choppiness.
Yeah, I'm really on the same page with you on a lot of this stuff because with the whole Celsius news and the Voyager news, a lot of the numbers aren't adding up to me. I've talked about this on my show. We've been covering it as heavily as we can, doing the best we can to cover and bring information to the people. So one of the things that I'm really kind of looking at with Bitcoin is, it looks like we're doing good. Everything looks great, but at the same time, I am a little bit cautious. I am a little bit cautious over here. As far as what I'm seeing on the chart, we are in a beautiful uptrend. We did get above that. For me, it was really this area of resistance, that 21.5 area. And I says, if we can reclaim that, then then we'll go ahead and retest that $23,000 area. And then from there, I think that we could have a melt up potentially like $30,000-$40,000. But we would need to see a lot of capital kind of coming in. And I just don't know if we're going to get that type of capital. Another thing that's very interesting to me is the whole thing with the Celsius stuff, because we don't know where a lot of that Bitcoin is. I know that it was sent over to FTX. And even if they sell, like, I doubt that it's probably going to be done OTC, because I believe FTX International, they have an OTC desk, whatever it is. So, you know, there's all of these things happening. So I'm very, very cautious. Like, even though, like, we talked about the crypto market caps getting back to $1 trillion today, well, I think where is that? Yeah, I think we peaked at, like, what was it? It was 932 trillion, which is close to 1 trillion. Or 932 billion. I'm just not feeling really optimistic. And I'm talking to my audience about considering taking short-term profits. Because if you take a look at crypto bubbles, where is it? Like, everything was kind of looking good earlier today, but we're in a mix with different price action. So I'm excited to take short-term gains, but I don't think we're going to have any kind of great bullish price action that everybody thinks is going to happen. The bull run is over, and I was hoping that we were going to have, I was hoping that we're in a bear cycle. We were still in a bull market up until the whole Terra Luna thing, and that's what made me change my mind, because I knew right then and there that we were going to absolutely get decimated because of all the different contagion and all the different companies that were impacted. But realistically, I'm looking for that candle close above that $21,500 area. If we can do that, then I do think we will see, some nice areas of 23,000. And then, like you said, that 26.5. And then over here, the 28.5 is actually super, super interesting, because if you look all the way back, it kind of corresponds with these swing wick lows at about $29,000 that we saw May 2021, June 2021, July 2021, when we were starting to get into that crypto drama that happened last year. Yeah. So this is the important area for me, but I'm just kind of taking things day by day and watching what's going to happen, because a lot of people talk about the catalysts that happen for the 2020 bull run. I don't think that it was necessarily like, when did the panorama happen? I just know it was 2 years. I forget when it was really in full effect. It was January, right? January 2021, right?
When was that? You mean the beginning of the bull run, or?
No, the panorama.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because a lot of people are trying to correlate the bull run to the panorama, but we saw the bull run start to happen summer of 2020, especially with all these DeFi protocols going off. So I don't even really like to correlate it with that. We do know people were at home, they had more time and money, but realistically, we've printed so much money and we've added so much capital into the United States of America, to the US dollar. People still have that money. I mean, I know we're in a recession, but we're not going to see the full effects of a recession for quite some time.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is that, recessions take time to unfold. So you may be in a slight recession at this point, but there's still a decent job market out there, which means, you haven't seen the mass layoffs really start. I've heard, I think, like, Twitter said they were laying off people. We've seen other tech companies starting to talk about laying off people. So it's coming, and it's going to get worse. I think the interest rate spikes is hurting the housing market immensely, which in all fairness is probably good for first-time home buyers, so that they can actually get a decrease in home values and purchase at a reasonable price. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm really looking for with the crypto market, and this actually goes along with the metals market too, is the US dollar. And I think that's something that not enough people are talking about. Let me show my chart here. And the reason why the dollar is important is because the stronger the dollar gets in terms of US dollars, like when you're looking at Bitcoin USD, that's important, right? Because the higher the dollar goes, the weaker Bitcoin will naturally go, because it's traded, or in this case, that's what I follow, the Bitcoin US dollar chart. So here's the dollar chart. And if I go to the monthly chart, you can really see what I'm looking at here. So there's a couple trend lines that tell me the dollar may have topped here, which to me, again, tells me if the dollar can decline, Bitcoin may catch a near-term bid on this pullback. So number one, look at that move up in the dollar since the start of the year.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And what's so crazy is that the whole thesis for Bitcoin was like, a year ago, was that, the dollar is garbage because they're printing so much money. And the dollar's been the strongest thing out there. Amazing. But look at this little pivot low right here, and then this upsloping trend line. And that's getting me more like, okay, wait a minute, did the dollar just top out today in the near term? And if we do pull back, maybe we see a little bit of an additional bid on Bitcoin. This is the daily chart, and I'm watching today's candle here because on the jobs report, the dollar spiked higher because it was a better than anticipated jobs report, which means that the Fed is likely to do 75 basis points, which is strengthening for the dollar. But then the dollar...
Gareth, I'm sorry, I got to interrupt really quick. Yeah. I think the job reports, in my opinion, I think they're full of it. They're not, because they don't account for people that have stopped looking for jobs. They don't count for people who are on unemployment. They don't count for people on disability. They don't account for a lot of data, and they're not very transparent. So I understand the markets react to those, but at the same time, it's hard for me to rationalize as to why people would react to those jobs reports when they're not even accurate and when the media is really manipulating them. So that's all that. So go ahead, but I just want to...
No, and you're right. I mean, they look at a snapshot and they exclude certain data. So that, I mean, you have to take that into account. But again, one of the things that I think is key is watch price action off of news. And that tells you a lot. So the news this morning from the jobs report would have signaled a jump in the dollar because it increased the likelihood of more rate hikes. And instead, after the initial pop, the dollar reversed. And that's putting in what we would call potentially a topping tail, which is a technical bearish indicator based on the candle forming today. So you combine that with those trend lines that I just showed on the monthly chart, and we may have a decline in the dollar, which to me tells me gold probably rallies, silver rallies, and potentially Bitcoin can rally as well in the near term. Now, this is very near term. I still